Welcome to Having Fun. I'm your presenter Uramis, and today's video is gonna be a little bit different. It's going to be a tutorial about on which kind of grade are you, and which kind of Gunpla grade you're gonna begin to build and then keep going forward. So, as many people will actually want to ask is how many grade levels are in a Gunpla. So, there are basically a total of 4 that were before in the moment. For example, SD, HG, MG, MG, and then it was the perfect grade. It came a little later, but it was perfect grade, and then the upcoming of master grade. That's a total of 5. But after a little going forward in the time, people like asking for more things and everything. Well, actually the truth that was that people didn't like only the idea of having those kind of grades. So what did do Bandai about it? So they actually think about it, pay a little more time, dedication, and a little bit of gathering meetings and everything to get more ideas, and they begin to complement the entire branch of grades with a lot of more grades in the existence. For example, the SD, it stands for super deformed now still, but after the SD it was the HG that was supposed to mean high grade, but after that they actually put another degree that was called from the super deformed to the advanced grade. The advanced grade is basically more like a really rare grade of Gunpla that you can actually begin to enjoy at first. That's gonna be only for example, just pop in the parts, put them together, and you have a Gunpla with all the details as the HG and the SD. Now, I don't have one of it to show you, but I actually gonna to show you by a little bit of image how it looked like, and you will notice the difference between the high grade, between the SD and the advanced grade, and also a little bit of the high grade. Now, moving forwards, we got ourselves something more different that it was the high grade. Now, the high grade, it's basically like the basic of Gunpla. If you are interested in beginning in Gunpla, you can begin from the high grade level. Basically, the high grades, they are basically looking like this. I have one of them right here. It's the Jarazulu cards type. The high grade, it's basically the preferable mold system that everyday people, hobbyists, enjoys in their entire life. They actually enjoy the amount of grades and dedications and a lot of Gunplas they have been made in a lot of time. So if you're thinking about beginning in a Gunpla hobby style, you can start by going with the high grade. Now, the things with the high grade, it's not that different or hard. They are really easy to build for following the manuals, and they have a lot of details too. That will be meaning it's sometime between some things that you could actually understand that's from more detailing than less detailing. And yes, this these actually grades that they have released, there is something in particular that you will notice in them. It's the details. So the details in a super deformed, it's really cute because the size of it's not compared to this one. Now, if you are actually wanting to know about the difference in size, they are actually a 1/144 scale. Their size is randomly like that. Not randomly, it's always like that. But sometimes when someone pronounces the word randomly, it's because some of the Gunplas they release in this kind of kit and grade, they are actually not the same size as other high grades, because if we make a little notice advantage and everything, we can actually notice that many high grades, their size are not compared to 1/44 scale, but it actually doesn't compare for the 144 scale in high grade. What I'm trying to say with this is that many Gunplas, like for example the GR Zulu, their size is not comparable to the 144 scale from other Gunpla series. For example, the Granddaddy Gundam, afterwards was the Zeta Gundam, Double Zeta and everything, and keep going, then Charge Counter Attack and everything. All those Gunplas, they are basically not the same size, because you will actually notice a little bit of difference in heights, and those heights will actually be noticeable and pretty good catching at the eye too. So if you're trying to actually get something to start with it, you can even start with a high grade. All the high grades, they come with stickers. You can actually begin like that, and then you will learn by just beginning from this kind of grade to a more advanced grade. I would recommend, as a tip for myself, that you begin to build 1, 2, 3 Gunplas, and then those 3 Gunplas you give them your customized like paint jobs or actually detail jobs, and that's how you will begin to learn the basics of Gunplas. That is basically custom decals, custom panel lines, custom painting, custom mechanical parts, and going forward and forward and forward with some more tips that you can learn by yourself. And even that, you can experience them and then share with other people that are beginning with the hobby. Now, moving forward from the high grade, there is something more noticeable than many people were saying, and let me show you here that from the high grade it comes out another kind of different high grade, that it's the P Bandai high grade. And what's the difference in those two? So I'm gonna put now what's the P Bandai high grade that I mentioned about. So this is a P Bandai high grade. This is the Pale Rider Space Type RX80 PR, and it's high grade. But the difference of this fella, they actually box style its color in one color way. It's not white, gray, yellow, blue, orange, everything in one color. No, it's basically printed in one color way. There is no, like for example, yellow and white, yellow, green, orange, other third colors. They're only the primary colors that you can see in them. And also the things that you will actually notice is that the entire range of these are limited only. So if you basically want to buy, for example, this fella, you need to actually have bought it in that time. And if you didn't, you can even search in Amazon or eBay or Hobby Links Japan, or you can buy it from Neighbor if you're here in Korea, or if you want to buy it, you can buy it from Bandai itself too, and they will send it to you. The basics of this is that you always need to check out the products when they send it, because you don't want to receive a product that's basically being torn apart or being really bad state that you will not actually notice anything about. So what you're gonna speak from this is that these kinds of P Bandai, they are basically more like a rare high grade that you can actually not find in every part, because they will be sold out, or either they will be like gifted to someone else. Like for example, a friend that has 20 P Bandai, he gifted to one of another friends, and he gifted to another friend, and like that. If you're trying to find a P Bandai, I would recommend you that you pay less and do like a style of transaction, or make like a way of paying less money for the P Bandai. But if you're trying to like really be the cheapskate guy, like for example, I will pay you $5 for P Bandai, $10. Man, who will actually gonna sell you for a P Bandai for $5-10? No one's gonna sell you that price. And because of the rarity of these high grades P Bandai, they're actually sometimes remake it so they can be sold in the upcoming year to people who didn't acquire in that moment of the year. Another thing that you can notice is that some of them are from some noticeable games or fan canon movies, like for example this from the Missing Links series game that you can find on PS3, and it's really amazing, the game. I also see it, and they are basically coming in a variety of range of colors, not like blue, they're coming blue, gray, brown, black, white, yellow, just one colorway, no more colors than that. And yes, the range of price, it's really variable, and the size is the same size. It's 1/444 scale. It's like that. 1/144 scale is the size of these high grade because they don't change the size of them. Now, moving forwards, another of the grades. Now we're gonna come with a little bit of, that's called a little big fella now, because it's gonna be more bigger than a high grade. This is like another grade that you can call. This is, for example, one of the other grades that I have. It's my first ever bow grade, and I learned a lot about them. They are not as rigid or as, you can say, when building, they are not as really thick. Sorry, they are not as really so much in for example, like durability. Yeah, they're not that durable when you're trying to build in. Some of them could break the joints or the connectors or the pegs, and you will be actually be forced to buy for example, you should be the problem is that you could actually be buying another like part. Yeah, you can actually be buying another part for the Gunpla that you actually broke, and the problem is that the sanding time will be taking long, and you will actually leave this to dust in the moment. So if another tip that you want to receive from me, it's when you're trying to build these master grades. They are master grades. Yeah, you can see the logo here. When you're building the master grades, you should actually be careful of building them. They are not as durable as the high grades, but they have a commonly really amazing thing because they come with custom decals that you can give them your style. Now, there are some variations in the master grade that, for example, is the master grade that says normal master grade, but this one says master grade burst Ka. So the burst Ka, it's like stands for Katoki version. It's a Japanese like Gunpla hobbyist that he goes every day at building Gunplas that were from the mastery and give them his custom way of panel lines, painting style, and everything, and he gets paid for each one of these Katoki versions that he has been selling to Bandai, because Bandai and Katoki, they actually make a connection together, and they begin to sell their styles of Gunpla to the people all around the globe. And these fellas, they have a very well sized, that you can actually say the size is basically 1 to 100 scale. So I will show you moving forwards to this after, how the sides are really different from each one of them, and the amount of time that you can build in these fellas. It's a lot of time. It depends on the Gunpla that you choose, and it depends on the complexity it has when building it, because the amount of parts that it has, it's no joke. They can take you for 1 month or even 3 weeks or 2 weeks, depend on the Gunpla complexity they have being released on the product itself. For example, this Gunpla, the Master Grade Full Armor Gundam Thunderbolt, it took me 1 month, and I actually made a mistake when building it. I actually broke the pegs inside the torso, and what did I did? There's no way that you can fix it by super gluing them, because if you super glue them, you will actually end up with a messy Gunpla that will stay like still, and you will not be able to move his arms, neither that. And that you don't want to have it. You want a Gunpla that can be posed and everything. And yes, another thing that people were saying is that the Gunpla, when you actually build it, some of the Gunplas in the massacres, they have huge weapons like this size, and their arms are so tiny that they cannot even hold the weapons because of the weight. And what's the problem there? That many Gunplas in the massacre lines are really hated by many people and customers from Bandai, and Bandai, what does do? They actually don't care, and they keep releasing the same without fixing it. I would recommend that Bandai will actually realize that some of their kits, they need a little bit of more attention to fix those parts. And yes, trust me, in my side, when I built the full armor Gundam and everything, put it in a stand arm, it actually holds the weapon pretty well, but after a little bit of while or time, that arm holder will begin to low to the end of it will hit the ground, and you don't want that. So my best option is, when you're making a pose with your Gunpla, make it with a pose that cannot be overweighted with the weapons itself. Try a little, for example, different poses that don't use the weapons and use, for example, the beam sabers or the shields. The shields are pretty awesome too. They are pretty good in size, and the color separation is pretty well. That's another thing of the Master Grade. Their color separations are really good. Some of them are, some of them are not, and you need to actually, if those that are not, you need to actually give them more attention and paint them. It comes with the high grade 2 issue. Some of them are pretty good in color separation, but some of them are pretty bad in color separation. You need to paint them. Another thing that you will actually be noticeable is that the master grades, when you choose a Berg Tokyo version, their decals or stickers, they will change from being normal like the stickers to like dry transfer stickers or water style decals. So the difference between them is that the dry transfer decals, you actually need to put a little tape up in the dry style decal, and you will need to, like, for example, like put over the shoulder if you want from the Gunpla, and you need to use a cotton brush, and you need to slowly apply from the tape over on top the amount of strength that you're gonna need to actually transfer the decal from the tape to here. And after that, when you peel off that tape, the decal will stay all over there. And that's when you want to seal your decals with a little bit of top coat, or top coat if you want to call it like that. Moving forward about it, another thing that I'm missing out from the master grades, the another thing they have, it's about their transformation. Some of them have pretty amazing transformation, some of them are really that bad in transformation that if you try to transform it, you will actually break some parts in the way of the transformation. But anything else about that, it's now only about seeing the sides, what's their components, and yes, as the high grades and the master grades in all the Gunpla's range, you will actually take note that you will be having to encounter sometimes expansion sets. What does it do, those expansion sets for each Gunpla? They will basically give more like varieties from the anime version or manga to the like real life when you're trying to build it, and you will actually have more parts as accessories to build into the Gunpla, so you will have more things and more that. And the issue here, it's the amount of availability that you will find of those products. If you are very lucky, you can find in a great batch when they sell. I'm selling 15 expansion sets from these Gunplas, and they're in a pretty cheap like sale. you can actually buy them and you will have a good way with it. But some of them are really so expensive. For example, oh, there are some high grades that I think they have expansion sets, and their range of price is basically the same as a $30 or 20 or $40 like Gunpla, and you don't want to spend the money, the size and everything. And yeah, that's will be all for the master grade. And moving on from this fella, we're now returning from the 144 scale, and we're going now for another roll. These fellas, this is not a joke. This is for those who want to have from the master grade and the high grade combined into one and have the same details, the same, not the size, but a little bit of smaller size. You can have a Gunpla that will look cool, amazing, and it will be the same grade as those two combined in one. Then you can go ahead and buy a real grade. The real grade, it's basically the fusion between the high grade and the master grade to stand over the top from the other Gunpla's competition. For example, they will look like this. When you open the box, you will see the manual at the top, and this is their logo when you see a real grade. When you're moving forwards and building it, one of the things that you will actually notice for the master grades and the real grade is that they're back of the book or manual. You will find all the details, tips of how to actually put each of the different decals or stickers or dry decals to the Gunpla, and that's one of the amazing things. The high grades, they have it, but not that really like specified like this. They have it in a little like rectangle below, and they will show you by white and gray and by Japanese words. Well, no one can read Japanese in these days, but some of them can do. And another things they have in the manuals, as the master grade, they will be packing up with some amazing poses, data of the Gundam, and some splash art that they have been doing, drawing that you can say. And this is how actually you will see the real grade. The real grade, it will be packing with a lot, let me tell you, a lot of details. They have this, there, that, and you will be astonished. All the time when you open a real grade, you will see amount of details, amount of time and dedication they have done in those Gunplas. The color separation of some of them are not that pretty well, but some of them, when you have enough time, you can give them a solid batch of spray and you will have a good looking Gunpla in the end. So I hope that if those that are really fans of the hobby about Gunpla and you want to go actually buy for example a real grade or a master grade or a high grade, you will start always with a high grade and going out forwards to the end. Now from the real grade, that's one of the things I didn't buy because of the price and the size of it. It's now moving from the real grade to the perfect grade. The perfect grade, it's two words stand off by themselves. Perfect grade means perfect in everything. It means details, it means plastic, it means complexity, it means all kinds of things. Like even they have LED. They have all LED that you can actually put inside and you will have the same amount of range in it. Some of the master grades, they have that kind of capability to put some LED LED lights inside of it, but some of them they don't have. So what you're gonna try to find and actually wanna guess is that the most important thing when you're building a perfect grade, you need to be patient when building it, because they have a lot of details and a lot of parts. You will be going from 2000 for example 300 to 400 to 500 to 500 like parts, to going like 1000, 2000, 3000, and it will take you months to build a perfect grade. And let's not stop there by the perfect grade. Their price, it's wow, their price is over the top of the notch of the money, and you can actually like lose an eye and a leg when you try to build them. Buy them, because when you build them it's gonna be a pain in the back and in the head, because you will gonna be always stressed out of all the amounts of little parts that you need to put, and then you will actually end up in 5 hours. Oh, I only finished the arm. What the H? And you will be angry. And some of them are actually angry, and some of them are really pissing off that they're actually saying, I'm not gonna build this anymore and everything. But after you finish it, you will have a first glance at the amount of time that you give it to that kind of Gunpla. You will be happy of the results, because you will have like a real size statue that will stand off in all the entire like mirror, a little case of glass, and you will have like the statue to people to see and everything. And when you're like sleeping, you can use it as a lamp. Some of the people do that, and I'm pretty happy for those that actually do that, because it's a lot of dedication and love they have for the Gunpla hobby. Now, moving from the perfect grade, the mega size stands on. The mega size is basically more bigger than the perfect grade, and it's basically the size of a high grade Neo-Zeon. The Neo-Zeon actually is the size of less from a high grade, that's 144 scale, but in the 144 scale in the universe it stands really tall, and it's double the size from a master grade. Yeah, he actually holds it to the mega size, same like size or height, or like the perfect grade, but they're actually really that easy to build too, because they don't need a lot. You just only to cut all the parts, like sand, paper them, and that will be all. You just put all the parts together, and then boom, you have this more real size statue to stand up in the entrance of your shop or your hobby world. And lastly, what I'm gonna do here now is gonna show you the comparison on size of the master grades and the high grades and the real grade. Let me hold on a little bit, and I will be back from another race pilot 2 that used the Gundam DRX. This is a high grade, and you will compare the size in this matte cutting that I have been showing. This is a high grade. Going forward, we're now looking at a real grade. The size of the real grade. Going forward, now we're looking at the size, moving a little bit next to each other. A master grade, you see the size difference. And lastly, we have another high grade, but it's really nearly the size, it's the size of the master grade. So the range goes like this. These two and the third one and this last one, they're high grades, but the middle one, it's the only master grade that has a little bit more size than the other ones. And you see the heads, they are different in size of the heads. Now, that's all the things I have in the moment, because I don't actually have the perfect grade or RSD, but you will actually see in the pictures that I will put together in the last part of the video of the size of all of these gathered together. But as everyone can know, in which grade, that depends on your decision. If you want to start in master grade, you can go ahead and start in it. But if you get too much difficult in the progress of building it, then that's another issue. You can't stop in the middle. If you leave it in the middle, those parts that you actually gather and you will actually have taken together, you will be losing them when you try to like save them for later to build, and you will actually be trying to find where they are. Oh, I forgot, I throw them at the trash because I thought that they were like optional parts. No, you will need to actually begin and finish the Gunpla to the ending. That's all for today, folks. I hope that everyone enjoyed the video of which grade are you for building a Gunpla, and I hope that I will catch you in another video. Having fun, your Amis saying goodbye.